Okay, next, let's talk about ordering fractions, comparing fractions. Let me get a nice new clean paper. All right, so we talked about comparing fractions in several ways. Let's go with the easiest one first. So if I have 2/5 versus 1/5, and I want to know which fraction is bigger, which was more, how much of the candy bar did I eat, which was more, and the denominators, the bottom numbers, are the same. Your job is super easy. We're talking about a candy bar with the same pieces, amount of pieces. We're assuming the candy bar is the same size, and it's simply like thinking you've eaten 2 of the pieces on this candy bar and you've only eaten 1 of the 5 pieces on this candy bar. So 2/5 is greater than 1/5. So when you're comparing fractions with the like denominators, same denominators, all you need to do is look at the top numbers. So 2 is bigger than 1. You ate more on this one. Okay? If I have denominators that are different, let's say 2/5 versus 2/4, and you're asked which fraction is bigger, which did you eat more? You could do this several ways. Number one, probably the easiest way, is to simply cross multiply and figure out which fraction is bigger. You have to start on the bottom and go across and up to do this, though. So make sure you always start on the bottom number. So if I cross multiply, I'm going to take the 5 and go across and multiply it by the 2. 5 times 2 is 10. Put that number over here somewhere. And if you cross multiply up back the other way, 4 times 2 is 8. And then you just look at those two numbers. 8 is less than 10. So the alligator is going to eat the bigger number. Okay? So 2/4 is more. And when you think about it, 2/5, you didn't eat quite halfway yet. 2.5 would be like halfway exactly of 5. 2/4, you've eaten exactly half the candy bar. So if you just think about it for a minute, you know that 2/4 is going to be bigger because it's more than, it's exactly halfway, and that's more than this one, which is a little less than halfway. So you can either cross multiply or just kind of think about it for a minute and use some logic. If it's too close to call, if they're both just over halfway, I would then check it with cross multiplying. There is another way though. So if I have my 2/5 versus 2/4, and I couldn't think it out logically and I didn't want to cross multiply, the other way to do it is to simply get those fractions to look the same and start comparing apples to apples, not 5s to 4s. And the way to do that is to look at the denominators. One's a 4, one's a 5, and start writing out their multiples. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. 4 would be 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. So write out the multiples for a little bit until you see a match. Now I see a match right here. They both have 20. So I could change the 2/4 into a fraction with a 20 on the bottom, and I can change the 2/5 into a fraction with 20 on the bottom. You just need to ask yourself, how do you do that? So how would I change a 4? And it has to be using multiplication. How would I change a 4 into a 20? Well, I would times it by 5. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. 2 times 5 would be 10. So this fraction, we're just using different numbers. It's still the same amount. 2/4 is the same as saying 10/20. This is half of this. This is half of this. It's the same amount. We're just using different numbers that we can use for this problem. Do the same thing to the side. Well, how do I change 5 into a 20? You times it by 4. How do I change, or what do I do to the top? You have to use the same number, you do the same thing. So if I times the bottom by 4, you got to times the top by 4. So 2 times 4 is 8. And now we can compare these two fractions very easily because the bottom numbers are the same. We ate 8 of the 20 pieces on this candy bar. We ate 10 of the 20 pieces on this candy bar. Obviously, we ate more on this one. Okay, so that fraction is bigger. That way takes a little bit longer than cross-multiplying or maybe using a little bit of logic that we used up there. But those are the 3 ways you can compare fractions.